First, let's pay homage to the lineage gurus, homage to the Venerable Mang Liaoming, homage to Master Sakya Tsungkhung, homage to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa, and homage to Master Dubden Dorshi. Homage to the three jewels of the altar. Homage to the main deity of the good practice this evening, the chief of Sukawati, the western realm of utmost bliss, Amitabha Patakata. Semu, Tanchen Katso, Dubden Siddhi, Dubden Kama, all Dharma masters, Dharma lecturers, Dharma teachers, Dharma instructors, Dharma teaching assistants, temple and center directors, and all disciples present here and over the internet. Good evening, how do you do?
Aisteru Sarange Hola amigo Te quiero mucho Sugoi Ichiba Kimochi ii Chumi Yapi Pirin pirin Konbanwa.
This evening we practice Amitabha Yidam or Amitabha Deity Yoga. Amitabha Buddha has his own special or supreme specialties, especially his Pure Land, that all Buddhas of the 10 directions extended their broad and wide tongues to praise Sukawati. The Surangama Sutra was spoken at the Anantapindika monastery, and Amitabha Sutra was also spoken at the Anantapindika monastery. These are both sutras of the greater vehicle. To go to Amitabha Buddha's Western realm, you need to pay attention to these two requirements. One, you have to have good roots, good spiritual roots, which means in the Saha world, all that you have done, what that you have done or you have thought, you must have enhanced or increased the good, the positive sides, and eliminate the negative sides. That's the first fundamental requirement to go there. Second, to go to Sukawati, you need to be able to single-mindedly chanting the Buddha's name or be mindful of the Buddha. Actually, single-mindedness is very, very difficult, and single-mindedness is meditation or meditative stability. So you can be mindful of the Buddha or chant the Buddha's name single-pointedly without any distraction or disorder. There was a story. There was an old lady that was chanting the Buddha's name and chanted and chanted. And one day, there was a thunder in the sky. She was shocked and chanted Amitabha. And then through the examination by the gods, all her chantings before, only this time was real or truthful. The rest were scattered. Each Amitabha was considered a scattered or not solid. Only when she shouted Amitabha when struck by the thunder was a real and solid one. That's a story I heard from the past. Generally, when we chant Amitabha, there are the 6-syllable or the 4-syllable Amitabha. There are many mantra chanting in the 佛教莲社. The 4-syllable Amitabha. And the 6-syllable Amitabha.
Namo Amito-fo. 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 这是六日佛。
That's the 6-syllable Amitabha. And also other versions, other melodies. There are many different versions. So in chanting the Buddha's name, the most important part is to be single-minded in order to be reborn in the Pure Land and Buddhaverse. And you also need to have good karma or good root, which means that in this life you don't have many negative or bad karma, and you have done a lot of good karma. So these two requirements, and this is the simplest way. And this is the most important, convenient method in Buddhism. But like Tantric Buddhism is rather difficult. Through Tantric methods are rather difficult. Let me share a few jokes.
这个妹妹被妈妈修理，
The younger sister was scolded by
就
mom
走去找
and
爸爸
cried
投
really
诉。
hardly
妹妹
and
讲，
complained to dad.
如果有人打你的女
The
儿，
younger sister
你怎么
said,
办？
what would you
爸爸
do
说
if someone
谁打
hit
我
your
的女儿，我
daughter?
就打他的女儿。
And dad said, whoever hit you, I
女
would
儿
hit
听了哭得更伤心。
that person's daughter. And so she cried even harder.
有的时候是单打，他
Sometimes
叫爸爸
it's
说
a,
谁打我的女儿，我就打他的女儿，就变成双打。
a single play or double play.
有一个女的病患躺在医院的病床上，
There was a female patient
哎呀，
lying
谁啊？
on a hospital
过来
bed
帮我把
and called
空
on
调
a
关
nurse.
一下吧，太冷。
Can someone turn off the or turn down the air conditioning? It's too
又叫
cold.
护士，护士啊，我现在又有点热了，
And the nurse helped.
你过来再帮我
And
开
after a
一下
while,
吧。
she called again,
护士
hey
回答，
nurse,
好。
it's too hot now. Can you
病
turn
患
it
讲，
back on?
这空
And the
调
nurse said,
温度还是
okay.
太低了，
And
你还
then
是
she
把我
said
关掉
again,
吧。护士也
oh, the
回答，好。
temperature is too cold. Can you turn
病
it
患讲，
off?
不行不行，还是
And
太
the
热
nurse
了，
said, okay.
你还是给我把
And
空
then she
调
said
开了
again,
吧。
oh, it's still too
护士
hot.
回
Can you
答，
turn it on
好。
back on? And the nurse said,
护士
okay.
走出门外以后，碰到女病患的男朋友，
And then
这位
when the
男
nurse
士
walked out
向
from the
护
room,
士道歉，
she
我的女朋友
encountered the
真的
patient's
是
boyfriend.
有点多哦。
And the boyfriend apologized.
护士讲，
Sorry, my girlfriend is
没
quite
事啊，
troublesome. And the nurse
我
said,
们医院
it's
没有
okay,
空
no
调。
problem. Because we don't have any aircon in our hospital.
我记得我有一次是这样子的，
I remember one
坐在一
time
个那个巴士上面，
I was on the bus.
突然间感觉到冷，
All of a sudden, I felt cold.
就把空调关起来。
So I turned
等一下
off
又
the
感觉到
aircon.
热，
And in a while, I felt hot and then turned
等一
back
下又感
the
觉到冷，
aircon on. And then I felt
又把
cold
空
again
调又
and then turned it off again.
一下子冷，一下子热，
So hot and
谁经
cold
历过？
kept changing. Anybody had such an experience?
我是经历过这种事情，
I had
一下子感觉到
experienced
很冷，
something
一下
like
子很
that.
冷。
So feeling hot and then feeling cold.
今天本来是昏昏欲睡，
Today I was
现在是
drowsy,
很疲倦，
felt very
在床
tired.
上本想要好好睡一觉，
I was going to take a good nap here on the Dharma
闭
throne,
着眼睛呢，
close my eyes,
结果
but
没有
it
睡
turned
着，
out I did not fall
没有睡
asleep.
觉。我今天没有睡觉，
I did not sleep
你们看
tonight.
了有睡觉吗？
Did you see me taking a nap?
明明很累啊，明明是很累的，今天晚上很累的，
I was very tired this
应
evening.
该做这个法座，应该要睡觉的。
I should have taken a nap on this Dharma throne, but I
没有
did
睡觉，
not.
连续还来叫我，
And
叫我
yet,
张开眼睛。
Lian Shi called me to open my eyes. But I was
你有
aware,
睡
I
觉你
was
就来
awake.
吵我，
Why did
我
you
真的
bother
睡着
me
了，你又不吵我。
when I wasn't asleep? And when I was asleep, you didn't.
这世界上
Do
的世
that
界就是这样的。
So this is how the world is.
男的病患跟护士讲：“你这个针
A
啊，
male patient told the
你扎针
nurse,
啊，痛不痛啊？我最怕打针。
is your needle
护士回
work
答：放
your injection
都
painful?
做了这么久的护
And the
士，
nurse
是很
said,
有经验
"Oh,
的。
don't worry. have lots of
病患讲
experience."
不痛就行了。
And the patient said, "It's okay if it's not
这个
hurtful,
护士打
hurting."
针一砸下去，
And the nurse
病患痛得哀叫，哀哀
pushed the
叫，
needle in,
怎
and
么这么痛？
the patient
你不是讲有
was
很多年的
crying
经
out
验，怎么
loud,
这么痛？
"Why is it so painful?
护士
Didn't you
讲
say
对
you
呀，
had lots of
我是
experience?"
说打了这么多年的针，
And I said,
没有
"Yeah,
一个是不痛的。
I have done injection for so many years where none of them are not painful."
我就很奇怪啊，为什么中医的针灸的针啊，扎
I
了不
find
会
it
痛？
strange why the acupuncture
什么原因？
needles will not cause pain. Why is
中
that?
医的这个扎针啊，中医啊，针
So
灸
the
啊，
Chinese,
它不会痛，
the TCM, traditional Chinese
为
medicines,
什么西医的 就
acupuncture
一定痛？
needles will
中
not
医的
cause
那个
pain,
针
but the
为什么不痛？
Western medicines needles are always painful.
是不是西医的针比较粗，中医的
Is
针比较细？
the Western medical needles are bigger?
我搞不清楚。
I don't know.
一个农村的家里，
In
家里的人都说
country
这个小明
country
长得很丑，
family,
就
everybody
让我
said
去
Xiao
稻田
Ming
里
is
面当
ugly.
稻草人。
So they asked
结果
him to
不
become a
仅
scarecrow.
把小鸟吓走了，
So not
甚
only
至还
he
有几只
scared
小鸟
off the
赶快
birds,
把
there
稻
were a
谷再
few
送回
birds who brought back the grains.
不太可能的事。
It's not possible.
好，我们进入这个主题啊，
Now we'll
你问我答。
do the main subject, Q&A.
台湾莲
A
花
question
苍线问
from Taiwan, Lianhua Changxian.
吉祥，弟
Grandmaster,
子祈请师
greetings.
佛，请佛注释说法，
May the
佛
Buddha
体吉祥安康，
pray
不入
stay
涅
in the
槃。
Saha world to
恭
expound the
请师
Dharma.
佛闻
May you
记
be
第
happy,
154册
healthy, and not
神
enter
鬼大
Nirvana.
惊奇正血交战
I
文章
read
所描述的
Grandmaster's
死亡
book
之世界，
150, The Amazing Spiritual World,
佛有
particularly on
十
the
大称号，
chapter The
其
Battle
中一个
Between Good
名
and
号叫做
Evil,
善事。
where the god of
再
death
看
is
到世
described.
尊在咒的
And the
魔力有
Buddha
开
has
示，
10 epithets. One of them
上
is
师
called
心咒是很
Sugata,
好
or the
的，
well gone
只
one.
要诵满10万遍，
And in
所求
Grandmaster's
善
book, The
愿
Power of
皆得成
Mantras,
就。
uh,
要持
Guru
莲花
said
童子
that
心咒多少遍，
the Guru
才能
mantra
得知
is
自己
extremely
死期，
efficacious. As long as
让
one
弟子
chants
们
it
可以提早
100,000
做准
times,
备。
all virtuous
恭
wishes
请
will be
师佛开
fulfilled.
示。
So, how many recitations of this Padma Kumarahat mantra
他
must be
是想
completed in order to
知
know
道他什
the
么时候
time of their own death
什么时候会
so
死，
that I can make preparation?
要提早
So,
做准备。
he wants to know when he would die so he can
要请
prepare
我
for
开
it.
示，要持莲花童子心咒多少遍，
How many
才
times
能够
of
得
Padma
知
Kumara
自己死
mantra
期，让弟子们可以
man
提早做准备。恭
to be
请师佛
chanted
开
so
示。
that we know when we will die so that we can prepare for it? And Grandmaster, please advise.
这问题严重，
Oh, this is a
佛不是讲无
serious
常
question.
吗？
The Buddha talks about
这
impermanence.
无常啊，是没有常态的。
So that means impermanence is not permanent.
知道自己死期，
Knowing
什
your
么时候
own
会死，
time of death,
那个你修行 你自己本身正量够了，
When you cultivate spiritually and you have reached a certain state,
或者你自己知道，
you would be told or you would know it yourself.
我们平时不用准备，要死不
But
死，
normally we don't have to
根本不用准备
prepare
啊，
if you're about to
你
die.
准备什么？
What?
有什么好
There's
准
no
备
need
的？
to prepare. What is there to prepare?
因为都是无常啊，
Because everything is impermanent.
有时候准备也来不及呀、啊。
Sometimes you have no time to prepare.
我不是讲那一个吗？
Didn't I
一个孤
say
独老人，
a
人家问
lonely
他，
elderly was
你一个
asked,
老人，
You're
为什么
all
不
by
找一个
yourself.
伴？
Why don't you find a companion?
到时候也有人照顾，
So
像
at
你晕倒
least
了，
someone can take care of you. Like if you faint,
老人回答， 我晕
and
倒
the
了还会
elderly
醒过来，
says, Well, even if I faint, I will
就没事。
eventually wake up. So that's no problem.
啊，这个人又问他，
So
那你
they will
旁边都
ask
没有
again.
人，
But
你晕倒了，如果
when
没有醒
there
过来，没
nobody
有醒过来，那
when
根本
there's
没有
nobody
事，
around you and you faint
没有醒
and
过来
then
也
you
就没
don't
有什
wake
么
up
事，
again, well,
还
that's
有什么
even
事？还要
better.
准备什么？ 真的是不用准备。
There are no issues at all. What is there to
你
prepare?
说，师尊的死期到了，
Like
我准备
Grandmaster,
什么？
when Grandmaster's time of death has
我
arrived,
还要准备。
what should I prepare
你
for?
平时所做的就是准备啊，
So whatever you
到
normally
时候到了，
do
你还准备什么？
that's the preparation.
你身上要带金带银
So
啊，
are you
没有用
planning to wear gold and
要做什么？
silver? No use. What are those for?
我们根本不准备的。
We don't prepare for it, for anything.
说写遗书啊，
Like writing a
写遗书也
will,
是多余的，
that's superfluous.
死了什么事都没有，
Because once you
不要准备
die, there are no
平时
issues at
所作
all.
所为的就是准备的，
So whatever you normally do and
到时候你只有业
your
带着走，
behavior and
其他都没
conduct
有，
are
善
your
业恶业
preparation,
带着走，
and
其他是
all that you carry with you will be your karma, good and
死
bad.
不用准备，那是无常。你看这个缅
So
甸
there's no need to
大地震，
prepare for death. That's impermanence.
准备都来
Look
不
at
及
the
啊！
earthquake in Myanmar. There's no time to prepare
走
for
就走了，
anything. If you die, you
死
die.
了就死了，无常。
Impermanence.
你平时所做的就是准备，
So what you normally do, that's
提
preparation.
早做准备。我
Want
现
to
在访问
prepare ahead
台
of
湾的莲
time.
花昌县，你准备什么？
So now I would like to ask this
身上
Lianhua
带
Changxian from
母亲啊，
Taiwan, what are you trying to prepare?
没用
What,
的。
carrying dollar bills with you?
哎，先穿好衣服再准备
Or
走，
to
没
ensure
用的。
that you wear clothes? No need, no use.
你平时念佛、念咒、念经，就是准备了。
If you normally chant mantra, chant the Buddha's name, chant the
你平时
sutras,
行
that's
善
the
就是准
preparation.
备了。
And when you normally practice Dharma and do good, those are the preparation. Otherwise, what else?
那巴拿马宝华同修会
From the Baohua chapter in Panama
那个女儿叫慧兰是吧？
or center,
慧兰师姐，
the daughter
站起
called
来，
Dhamma Sister Huilan, please rise.
麦克风给她。
Give her the microphone.
你讲你女儿的事情，简短的讲一下。
Let's share the story about your daughter. Just short, brief
就是我女儿
sharing. My daughter,
不知道怎么开始。
I don't know how to start.
对她突然发烧，然后
She
就
got a high fever all of a sudden
昏迷不醒，
and was in
就
a
很短的
coma.
时间内就
In a very
往
short
生了。
time, she died.
她几岁？
How old was
19
she?
岁，
19.
在学校嘛？
Was that
不是，她
in
就是在
in the
外
school?
面
No.
跟朋友一起玩，
She was
回家
playing
的路上
outside
就回
on
学
the way
校宿舍
home.
的路上，
On the way back to the school dormitory.
她就说就突然不舒服，
And she said she felt unwell all of a sudden.
第一个跟大家讲，这个
So
就是无常。
first, I'm telling
很健
you,
康，
this is impermanence. She
跟
was
同学
healthy
在玩，突然
and just playing with classmates, and all of a
就
sudden
头晕嘛，哦，
she felt dizzy, yes,
有些呕吐这样子。
and
对
vomited,
然后就走，19
and
岁
then died at 19.
她的女儿。
That's her daughter.
然后你女儿是在中国嘛，对不对？
对，她回国读书了，
She
就是
went to
去年
study
参
in
加了
China
师尊的
last year after
80岁大寿的时候，
attending Grandmaster's
就从这里
80th
回去
birthday
读书。
celebration.
回中国读书。
She went back to
在中国
China to
发生的。
study. It happened
那
in
么
China.
你到中国去看她的时候，
And when
你
you
在飞
went to
机上看
China
到
to
什么？
visit her, what did you
我
see on
在
the
飞机
plane?
上修法，
I practiced on the
然后
plane,
她跟我一起在修法，
and she was
看
also
到师尊
practicing
的
together
法
with
身，
me.
还有
And I saw Grandmaster's
很多的
Dharma
佛菩
body
萨在放光加持。
and many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas radiating light to bless us.
那你女儿本身她的灵视已经出来了，她来安慰，在飞机上安慰你。
And the spirit body of your daughter appeared and
那请
comforted you on the plane. Okay, please be seated.
这就是无常。
That is impermanence.
跟同学出去玩，
She
然后
was
玩得很开心，
playing
头
with the
晕
friends,
然后就
was
走。
very happy, and then got dizzy, vomited, and then died.
就是这样的。你说准备什么？
Like that. So how would you prepare for
没得
that?
准备。
Nothing to prepare.
但是他的女儿有在飞机，她在飞机上要
But
去
she
看她
was
的女儿的时候，
on the plane
她女儿已经
to
在飞机
see
上
the daughter.
跟她在一起。
The daughter was already on the plane together with her.
就是无常。
That's impermanence.
那个大地
Look
震
at the
死的，
great earthquake in Myanmar.
根本来不及想，
They had no time to even
一震
think.
他们就回去，
With the quakes, they gone.
没得准备的。
There's no time to
平时
prepare.
所作所为，
But your
就是准备。
normal behavior and conduct are the preparation.
这条路也是每一个人都要走的，
And everyone has to walk the
没有
same
一个例外
path. No exception.
像师尊的，本来79岁就要走，
Like Grandmaster Lu was about to leave the world at 79.
我今天中午不是跟大家讲，
This afternoon, I
79
told
岁的时候
everyone that
79岁以前，
when
我从来没有承认过一句老日，没有讲过一句
Prior to 79, I never talk about being old. Never mentioned it.
79岁以后，
And after
天
79,
天在讲老日，
I've been talking about old age every day.
天天说自己老了，
I
怎么会
kept
这样？
I keep saying that I'm old every day.
79岁的时候碰到
How
一个医
come?
生，
Because when I was
对我换药，
79, I encountered a doctor
那
who
一年就
changed
完全不
my
好，
medicine.
每天都在这边反反复复，
So that year
他给我
was
换
really
药，
hard, and
一大堆毛
every
病，
day lots of problems happening. And he
我这个
kept
人是这
changing
样
my
的，
medicines.
只有人
For
家告我，
me,
我不会告人家，
I would never sue
因
anybody.
为我是
Only
属神
other
的，
people would
我不会
file
把
lawsuit
自己
against
的
me.
痛苦加在别
Because
人
I
身
am a
上，
spiritual cultivator, I will not cause any sufferings to others.
我不会告人家。那个医生给我换
So
药
I
换
will
错了，
not file a lawsuit against anyone.
让
But
我
the
79
doctor
岁非常
changed
的
the medicine
难受，从此以后
incorrectly.
身体变差。
So I
79
suffered
80
greatly that year. And ever since, my body deteriorated greatly.
79岁以前，
So 79, 80,
身体一
81,
直都很
my
强壮。
body changed. But before that, my body was very strong.
79岁以后，再也不敢讲。
But after 79, I don't
我讲维摩诘经，
dare to say more.
我中午讲，
And
有一天晚上，
this afternoon, I talk about this in my exposition of Vimalakirti
他放了
Sutra.
一个圆
One
形的
night,
光，
Vimalakirti appeared and
很
radiating
光亮，
round
很光亮的光。
rays of light, very
他跟我讲，
brilliant,
他说：“卢世尊，
radiant light.
你
And
只
he
要
told
走
me
进
that I
这个
must
光里
do,
面，你
as
就回
soon
到
as you
本
walk
地，
into this light, you would return to your original
知道
ground.
什么意思？
And I knew
就
what he
离开
meant,
人间，
that I would leave
回
the
到麻花
world
双莲子去。
and return to the Maha Twin Lotus Ponds.
他问我，你
He
在
asked
世
me,
上，你还有什么留恋的吗？我说没有。
is there anything that you are still
你对于你的
attached
身
to
边
in this world?
的，对于你的这个财务、汽车、房子还有留恋吗？
Toward your
我说没有。
wealth, houses, cars, do you have any
对于周边的人
attachment at all? No,
还有什么
at
留恋
all.
的吗？我说没有。
And how about people around
你
you?
还想要再继续活在世界上，有这样子想法吗？我说没有。
Do you still have a desire to want to stay in
那
this
你就
Saha
走进这
world?
个光里面。
No, I said. Then why don't you walk into this light?
这时候我才想起，
And then at that moment, I thought about
第二天早上师母来叫我起
师
床
母
以后，
that the
她
next
看到躺在
morning,
床上，
when Simu saw
我已经不
me
能动，
lying
而且没有呼吸。
unmoved without breath on my bed,
师母是从来不哭的，
Simu never cries.
但我知道她会变成一个很孤独的
But I
老
know
妇人。
she would become a very lonely old
她已经是坐
lady.
轮椅，
She's already on a wheelchair.
推着车来叫我起床。
She is
我已经
on the wheelchair
直的
coming
在
to
床
wake
上，
me up every morning. And when I'm stiff
我
on
能
the
够忍得
bed,
这个心吗？让她一个
do I
生病的
bear
老
to
人，
leave a sick elderly alone?
所以我说，宁可我哭，
That's why I said I'd rather cry myself. I will not let her cry.
宁可我苦。
It's okay if I suffer and cry rather than let others cry. And then Vimalakirti retracted the rays of light.
在想，宁可我苦。
I'd rather cry myself rather than
身体就变差。
others. So after 79, my body deteriorated.
79岁以前
Before
我认为我
79,
很健康。
I always felt very healthy.
现在已经走到81了。
Now I have walked to 81.
本来我79岁是会走的。
It was my time to leave at 79.
药师金母跟阿弥陀佛
That's why Golden Mother and Amitabha Buddha helped me to extend my lifespan. And Golden Mother said 3 years.
阿弥陀佛说，让你
Amitabha
延
Buddha
5
said 5 years.
到底是3年还是5年？
So will it be 3
不管
or
是3
5?
年、5年，
It doesn't matter whether it's 3 years or 5
我还
years.
是一定会走。
I will still have to leave.
师母也一定会走。
And also Sumu
我
too
是希望
will one day.
他先走，我来哭。
I hope that she would leave first and let me cry, but not the other way around. Not to let her cry.
就是因为这样，才再留下。
And because of this, I stayed.
平时所做的，当然
Things that we normally do
有恶，
include the good and the bad.
生死之事，置之度外。我们行者
And the issue of life and death do not matter. We should not
只是
be concerned
我先
about
走，
life or death.
我是害怕师母一个人
It's just that if I leave
拖着她的
first,
病躯，
I'm afraid or I'm concerned that Simu, with her illness, living her old age would be quite
所以我讲，宁可我
quite worrisome.
不要他苦。
So that's why I think and say that let me cry rather than
这也是
let her cry.
一段过去。
This was also the
那天
past.
真的是可以走的。
So that day I
第二
could
天
have
我
gone.
早上清醒的时候，身子也差一点不能动。
When I woke up the next morning, I could barely move. Why? Because I had low blood sugar.
你知道低
The
血
blood
压
sugar
昏迷
became really low.
那是会死的。
And if you go
低血糖
into
昏迷呢，
coma because of the low blood sugar, then you would die. You would never wake up
当我眼
again.
睛张开的时候，身体是不能动的。
So when I opened my eyes, I could not move my body.
我的身边经常准备着
And then next to me, I
饮顺，
often prepare ensure.
饮顺就是那个
It's the drink
里面含有
ensure
很多营养的水，
with lots of nutrients. in it.
身体不能动，但是我拿了那个水打开，喝了那
I
个水
could not
躺在床
move,
上，
but I
一阵
could
子
grab
我身体
that
动，
ensure and then drank it, and after a while I started
那
to
个死
move.
就是
I had
低血
no
糖
energy at
昏死
all. So that death would have been death due to low blood sugar.
所生死
So life and death are nothing, are no big deal.
回到马哈庄莲子最重要。
Most importantly is to go back to
也不用
Mahat
准备
Twin
什么，
Lotus Ponds.
你平
There's
时的
nothing
所
to
作所为
prepare.
就是准备。
Your normal behavior and conduct would be the preparation.
每次谈到生母，
Every time when I talk about Sumo,
是会流泪。
I always shed tears.
还有谈到瑶池金母，
Or when I talk about Golden Mother, I would also
谈到自
cry.
己的母亲，
Or talking about my own mother, I would also cry.
就是彼此之间都是大家都有一种感情在。
Because there's some sentiment, right? And affection, in mutual affection.
对人间没有什么好留恋的，只剩下一个情。
I have nothing to linger about this world, just this
另外
sentiment,
还有对所有的同门，
and also just a sentiment toward all the disciples, intermingling.
所以提早准备，
So
提早准备，
early
平
preparation
时所作所为
is not needed.
就是只有业随
Your
身，
conduct
只有
and
你做
behavior
跟着你走。
would be the preparation. Only
佛
karma
教里面讲的业
will go
是
with you.
善业、恶业，
So in Buddhism, the
另外一
so-called
个
karma
是无记业，
refers to the good karma, bad karma,
无记业是
and unrecorded karma.
不关系到善恶的。
And the unrecorded karma is irrelevant of good or bad.
我们讲这个楞严经吧。
Now let's expound on the Surangama Sutra.
佛告阿难，
The Buddha
是诸比丘，
said to Ananda,
是来从我示罗华城，
these
寻
bhikshus
起博士
have returned from alms round
归底
in the city of Sravasti
我已说哉，
and are now back in the Jeta Grove.
你观比丘，一人食时，诸人饱腹。
I have already finished my meal. Tell
释迦
me,
牟尼佛告诉
if
阿难
one
尊者，
bhiksu's eating,
现在在
do
座
the
的
others
很多
also
的
become
比
full?
丘，就是出家修行人，
So the Buddha told
是来
Ananda,
从我示罗华
now
城。
many of the
他们跟我到
bhiksus,
舍卫
which is
示
spiritual
罗华城就是
cultivators,
舍卫城，寻起博识。
they
那个时候啊，
came
他
to
们
the
舍卫城的国王
city of Sravasti
供
because at that
供菜
time
给
the
释迦牟尼
king of the city of
跟所有人的
Sravasti
菩萨，
made an offering of
还有
meals to
舍卫
Sakyamuni
城里面
Buddha and all the
所有的长者
bodhisattvas.
也供斋，请这个释迦牟尼佛升
And
传
also
阿
all
罗
the
汉
elders of the
菩萨
city also made offering of meals to Sakyamuni Buddha, the Arhats and
群起薄
Bodhisattvas.
食，就是他们共斋。什么叫做薄食呢？用手抓。
So,
在印度吃饭，
what
他们
is
不用筷子，也没有刀叉。
alms begging?
现在可能有改
Because in
变，
ancient India,
他
they
们是用
don't
手
use
抓，
chopsticks, they don't use forks and knives, but they use their
古时候的
hands
印度都是用手
to eat.
去拿东西来吃的。
In ancient
手拿
India,
东
they
西来
eat
吃
with their hands directly.
并没有用筷子，
They don't use
也没有
chopsticks
用刀叉，
and not knives and
我记得
forks
我
either.
去跟藏人在一起生活的时候，
I remember when I was
吃那个糌粑，
staying with the
吃糌
Tibetans,
粑的时候，
and when they
是用
ate
那个
champa,
茶
they
跟
used tea
茶跟糖，还有那
and
个青稞
sugar
粉，
and barley
用手
flour,
呢抓青稞
and they
粉，
used their
把它捏，
fingers
然
to
后沾
knead
着那个酱料，
the
沾着一
flour
些
and
酱
then
料，
dip it in
就
some
用手
sauce
抓吃的，
and just
也
eat
不用
with
筷
their
子。
fingers. And they don't use chopsticks either.
西藏的文字跟中国的文字是不一样，它是从那个
Tibetan scripts are different from Chinese characters.
松赞干部，
Back
松
then,
赞干部的一个大臣，
King Songtsan Kampo's minister
他喜欢语文，就派他到印度，
who
到了
was fond of
是学习
languages, so was sent to India to study Sanskrit, and then upon return invented Tibetan scripts. That was the era of Songtsan Kampo.
藏人的习俗有点，有一
So
些是
Tibetan
西藏的
tradition,
藏人的文化有一些是从印度那
some
边，
came from India.
所以文字语言，
So
还有
the
吃饭的
scripts,
习
the
惯用
language,
手抓，
and
这个
the
所谓
eating tradition, they also use
就是
bare fingers or
就是
hands.
念成什么团食，念成团食吧， 就是
You
把饭
pronounce it,
抓成一团一团的，就吞下，吞到肚子里面去。
it's like you form a ball
现在
and then
大家吃
swallow
饱了，都回
to
到
put them in the mouth.
指陀林，
So everybody had their meals
给孤独园了。
and returned to
我已
Anathapindika
说在，
monastery.
我们已经都吃过饭了，我们都吃过
So
饭。
we have already taken our
现在问
meals.
他问阿难，阿难
So
就
the
讲
Buddha
阿难
asked Ananda,
你看所有的比丘，一个人吃的时候，
so
所有
look
的
at
人
all the
饱不饱？
bhiksus when one bhiksu's eating,
一个人吃，
will the others feel full?
那其他的人就饱了吗？他就释迦牟尼有问，阿
Sakyamuni
难答
Buddha
言：不
asked.
以世尊，
And Ananda
可以。
replied, No,
是
Lord
诸
Honored
比丘
One,
虽
why
阿罗
not?
汉，
Although
其
these
命不同，
bhiksus are arhats, their
因
bodies
何
and
一
souls
人能令
are
众饱？
differ from each other. How
阿
could
难
one
尊者回答
person's eating cause the others to be full?
不可能的事情。释迦牟尼佛啊，为什么呢？因为
So
每一个比丘啊，
Ananda
虽然都
replied,
是阿罗汉，但他的每
It's
一个
not
人的
possible.
有每一个人的身体，一个人吃，
Although all the
众人
bhiksus
不会
are
饱，
arhats, everyone
大
has
家一起吃，
different
大
bodies.
家一起饱。一个
So
人吃只是一个人饱，
how could one
其他
person
人不
eating
会饱。
cause the others to be full? When everybody eats, everybody's full, but not one person eating and everybody else is
他们
full.
这些比丘虽然是阿罗汉，但是
So
七命不同，
although
每
all
一个人都有
this
自己个人的身体。
bhikshus are
银河一人
arhats.
能令众宝。
Their bodies and
一
souls
个人单
differ.
单吃饭，旁边的人在看，
So if one person's eating and the rest are looking, then the rest will not feel
先
full.
吃饭那个人会饱。
Only the person eating will feel full, will be full.
这阿罗汉本身来讲就有神通。
So arhats
佛陀
have
时代
some
知
supernatural
道十大
power.
弟子就10个阿罗汉，
During the era of the Buddha, the 10 great disciples
500
have
阿罗汉，500阿罗汉，
10
在佛
transcendental
陀时代
powers.
证得
He
阿罗
often
汉
said 500
非常的
arhats.
多。
During the era of the Buddha, there are many disciples who attain arhatships.
在四圣界啊，阿罗汉的
In the four sixthly realms, arhatship
比较
is considered
就是最小的了，最小的圣
lowest, the
像佛啊
smallest state of sagehood. But like Buddhas,
佛、菩萨、
Bodhisattvas,
贤劫、
Prateka Buddhas, and Arhats, there are differences among them.
觉行都圆满。
Buddhas are those who are perfect in their realization and
菩
conduct.
萨
Bodhisattvas
属于大圣菩萨，
belong
不只
to
救自己，
Mahayana,
救众生，
who
那就是菩萨。
not only help themselves but also deliver others.
那么另外一个叫圆觉，
And
他
Prateka
没有
Buddhas,
是
without
他看到
teachers, they observe
这个看到闪电，他就开悟
thunders and become enlightened. They are called the
看到落
Prateka
花，
Buddha.
他领
When
悟
they
到
see
落花，
falling
这
flowers,
个落下了的花，它不会再长，
that the fallen flower will not bloom again, will not grow,
还有领悟到
and they gain
看到
enlightenment.
飞叶，
When they see the leaves flying,
叶子不可能再飞回
falling
树上，
off,
再粘在树枝上，
the leaves will not return to the trees and be hung there.
它开悟，
With this concepts, they gain enlightenment.
看到闪电，
So seeing fallen
或者是说
flower or flying leaves or thunder,
像虚云老和尚，就是因为说
they're enlightened. So they have a different state of realization. Like the Venerable Elder Xu
他们
Yun,
讲说是装茶，去装茶，
he used a cup to
然后喝
fill
茶的时候，
it with
手一
tea,
滑，杯子掉到地上，
and when he was about
杯
to
子吹
drink,
掉，
the cup fell to the ground and broke.
他这样就领悟，
And just that, he was
这个
enlightened.
没有师父的，没有
Without a
佛住世
teacher
的时候，你能
or
够依
a
照
Buddha,
因缘而去开悟的，
and you can
这个叫做圆觉，
be enlightened
这是属于
according to
阿罗汉是
causes and conditions. That's called Prateka Buddha.
众当中
And the fourth is Arhats.
比较没有度众生，比较注重自己本身。
They don't deliver other beings. They focus more on their individual cultivation. They are
所
called
以阿罗汉
Arhats.
七命不同，但是每一个人的身体都不一样，不可能
So
这个阿罗汉
although
吃饱
they are
说阿罗汉
arhats,
全部都肚子都饱，
but their bodies are different. So
释迦牟尼佛
it can't be that
告诉阿
one
难
person eating causing the
若
others
你
to be full.
觉了知见之心
The，Buddha said to
实
Ananda,
在身外，
if you perceive
心不能知，
the knowing
我
mind
今
to
是
be
你
truly outside the body,
这个
then your body and mind
都
would be
免受
separate and unrelated.
你眼见时，心分别不。 释迦牟尼佛讲，
Sakyamuni Buddha said,
你现在你讲，所谓心是在外面，
You said that the mind is outside.
你在里面已经被释迦牟尼佛否决掉了。
At first he said it's inside, but it was rejected by the Buddha.
他现在讲，释迦牟尼
And
佛
then
告诉阿难，
the Buddha
你说
said
你的
to
心是在
Ananda,
外面，
you said now that the
眼
mind
睛
is
是在身
outside
上，但是
and the
心是在
eyes
外
are on the
是在
body.
身外。这个身心啊，都是不一样的，两个不相
Therefore,
干的。
the body and the mind are separate and unrelated. So what the mind knows, the body would not be able to feel.
这个阿罗汉已经吃饱了，
So like the mind
但
would
是你身
know
体
that the
没有感觉到饱
arhats
啊。
are full, but the body does not feel full.
两个是不相干的，
So
身跟
they
心不相干。
are
只
unrelated.
有心所知，身不能解。你心里知道，这个阿罗汉有吃过
So what the mind knows, the body will not be able to feel.
你身体不能感觉到说你够吃过饭，身不能解。
So the mind knows the arhats have eaten, but the body does not
感
feel
觉
full.
是在身，你自己的身体你有感觉，但是你的心不知道。
So what is
我现在
felt by the body will not be known to the mind.
释迦牟尼佛伸出他的手，
So Sakyamuni Buddha used
像
his
人
hand.
兜罗绵手。
His
什么叫兜罗
hand
绵手？
was like a
兜罗绵手，如果是
turban
在印度，
cotton.
他们的布啊，有一种布叫做兜罗棉，这种布非常的柔软。
In India,
这
there
表示释
was
迦牟尼
a
佛
kind of
手的手
cloth that's
不是很
very
粗糙，
soft
不是很粗很硬
and
很粗，
gentle.
像工人的手，工人的手大部分呢轻击暴起啊，很硬。
I think it's called the
释迦牟尼
turban
佛手是很
cloth.
柔软，
So
就像那
it's
个布
not
一样这么柔软。
it's not very coarse or tough, but it's
明
very
眼
soft
见识，
and gentle.
你眼睛看到了，看到释迦牟尼佛的手，有什么感觉？
So your eyes saw Sakyamuni Buddha's hand, but what do you
看
feel?
到释迦牟尼佛的手很柔软，
So you see Sakyamuni Buddha's hand to be very soft. It becomes spaghetti hand.
那个面啊，很柔软。Spaghetti hand 是这样子的，佛经跟佛旗啊，小的时候我们把它送到去学武功。
When Fo Qing and Fo Qi were young, we sent them to study Kung Fu.
那边的手啊，
And the coach,
这出钱学武功出钱，好像 spaghetti hand。
so they were training in martial arts, but their arms or the hands are like spaghetti hands, too gentle. That's no
一定
good.
出钱一定要有力啊！
Because in martial arts, you need to be powerful,
这样
strong.
练武功一定要这样子，
So
出钱要有力。
that's in the martial arts training.
好像中国有一种武功叫做绵掌，绵
So
掌就
there
是
is
spaghetti hand，但是呢，它一打
a
到身
term
上
in China. It's like spaghetti hand,
看起
but
来很柔，
it looks very gentle. But when it hit you, it's very powerful.
绵掌。
That's called the cotton palm.
阿难回答：“是的，师尊，释迦牟尼
And
佛啊
Ananda replied,
佛告阿难，释迦牟尼佛告诉阿难尊者， 若相知者，一为在外。是故
Sakyamuni
应知
Buddha told
你言
Ananda,
绝了能知之心，住在身外，无有是处。
if they are mutually aware, how could the mind be outside the body?
你说你的
Therefore,
心
you
是在
should
外面，
know
不
that
是
your
在里面。
claim
在你的
that
身
the
体里
aware
面，在
knowing
身
mind
身体
abides
的外
outside
面
the。body cannot be true.
但这样身跟心分离了，
So, if the mind is outside the body, the mind is
肚
separate
子
from the
饿啊，
body.
心也没有感觉到。
The body is hungry, but the
如果
mind
在
does
外
not
面的
feel
话，
it.
不感觉到肚子，自己
If the
身
mind
体
is
里面
outside
就
the
觉得。
body.
所以，释迦牟尼佛是讲说，到底心在哪里？心在里面，但是你没有看到自己的五脏六腑。
So, Sakyamuni Buddha said,
心在外
if the
面，
mind is inside, but you don't
你虽
see
然
your
看到人
internal
家吃饭，
organs.
你自己身体也不
But
饱，
if the mind is outside, you see
也不会饱。
others eating, but you don't feel
所以心也不是在
full.
外面。
Your body
你
does
说
not
你的
feel
心
full.
住在
So
外，你
therefore,
的
the
身体
mind
外
is not
面，
outside
无
the
有是处，
body.
一点用处都没有。
So there is no use at all having
这
the
一段
mind
是讲
outside
说，
the body.
心呐，它不是住
So
在你
this
身体里面，
passage
因为你身体里面找不到心，
talk about
也不是住
the
在外面，
mind is not residing inside the
住在外
body
面了，
because you cannot find it,
身心分离。
but the mind is also not outside the body
那心不知道自己
because
身
when
体
the
里面
mind is separate from the body, the mind
你
would
必
not
须要
know
知道
if
自
the
己
body is
身体
hungry
饱
or full,
吃饱了没？
and you need to know it, and you
所
do
以
know
身
it.
心不可能分开的。
Therefore, the body and the mind cannot
这
be
佛陀
separate.
又这样子讲，
That's
住
the
在里
Buddha
面也不
said.
对，住在外
So
面也不
it's
对，
wrong to have the mind inside the
那怎样才
body.
是对呢？
It's wrong to have the mind outside the body. So what is right then?
大家想一想，
Think
其
about
实
it.
非常难想。
Actually, it's difficult.
真的，有时候一个人
Really,
看师尊
sometimes,
那个
like Grandmaster,
有时候坐在法座上，
sometimes seated on the Dharma throne,
然后钓鱼，上个礼
I
拜
was
钓
nodding
到
my head.
差一点
Like last week,
差一点
it
跌
was
下来，
really bad. I almost
真的
fell.
睡，真的是睡着。
I really fell asleep then.
今天没有钓鱼，
But today I did not.
哎，你来叫我，来叫我，我说我
Instead,
根本清醒的，
you
你来叫我
called
干什
on
么？
me. I was awake.
我
Why
真的
did you
钓鱼
call
快
me?
掉下去了，你又不叫我。
But when I was really nodding and almost fell, you did not come up and call me or woke me up or wake me up.
这本经讲这些逻辑啊，讲心在哪里？
So the sutra is talking about logic. Where is the
心在
mind?
里面，
To let you
我
mull
心在
over
我
it.
身体里面。
Oh, the
那你看到
mind is
你的内
inside
脏，
my body. Then do you see the internal organs? You don't.
我今天看到一封信，
Today I saw a
有
letter.
一个以前的上司，
An ex-master.
他那个肝脏，其好像自己感觉到有什么不对，去检
And
查一下，
they felt something wrong and had it
应该
checked.
是癌
And
症
it
末
turned
期，
out to be the last stage of
癌症末期。
cancer.
就是没有办法知道。奇怪，
Therefore,
肝
it's
脏这个
impossible to
东西啊
know.
有癌症
It's
他也没
strange.
感觉，
For liver, even with
感觉到
cancer, you don't feel it.
等到感觉到很不舒服的时候，
When
去检查
you
已经是末期。
when you feel something's not right, then it's already too late.
他一封信来说希望
So they wrote a letter
他要
asking
师
for
尊接引他
Grandmaster
到回
to
到
guide them to go back to the Mahatwin Lotus
医生跟他
Ponds.
讲，你剩下3个月，
The
那我
doctor
半
told
年的
them
时间
that you only have 3 months,
要
3
给
to
他
6
动手术
months.
医生说不用
And
动手术，已经没救了。
And the doctor said,
I
no
see that
need to
one.
do surgery. There's no hope.
所以有时候不知道自己到底怎么回事，要去检查才知
So
道。
sometimes you don't know what's going on
因为你的
inside
心
you.
啊，
You
没有
have
办
to
法
have
观
it
察到你
checked
的五福六脏啊，
because your mind cannot observe your own
谁
internal
看到自己的
organs.
肾？
Anybody
谁
can
能够
see
看到
their
自
own
己的肝？
kidneys. Anyone
谁
can
能
see
够看
their
到
own
自己的心
liver
呢？
or heart.
有谁呢？说心不在内，
Anyone.
他用这个来证明心不在内。
And he
心也不在
used
外，
this to prove that the mind is not inside the body.
因
But
为
the
如果
mind
身
is
体跟
also
心
not
分开
outside the
了，
body. Because if the mind and the body are
身体肚子饿
separated,
了，心也没有感觉到。
then when the body is hungry, the mind will not know.
他是这样，身也不应该在外面。
So it should not be outside either. Because you can feel that you're hungry.
非常难讲。
And the next are very difficult to talk about.
这比喻实在是太差了。
The analogies are so
达摩祖
bad.
师很厉害啊，
Bodhidharma was
神光去见达摩，
amazing. Sun Guang
神光讲，我心不
went
安。
to seek Bodhidharma and told him,
达摩跟他讲说，
my heart
你
mind
心
is
哪
not
来，
at
我给你安。
peace. And Bodhidharma said, bring
说
me
怎么找
your
都找
heart
不到
mind
自己的心。
and I will pacify it for you.
达摩就讲，
And he replied,
我已经慢
I
慢
cannot
不
find it no matter how.
你
And
你找不
Bodhidharma
到
said,
心啊，
I have pacified it for you because you cannot find it.
这答案就已经在这里了。
So that's the answer.
再来哦，释迦牟尼佛跟阿难讲这个心哦，很多说的。
But the Buddha was very verbose talking about this to Ananda. It was a huge passage talking about the
心
mind.
跟眼是合一的。
Next, it will be talking about the union between the eyes and the mind.
眼根里面，在眼睛的根里面。
That the mind is in the root of the eyes, of the sense faculty of the eyes. It's difficult to explain, it's difficult to understand. 爸爸跟小明聊天，妈妈在旁边看。 Dad and Xiaoming
谈
were
到激
chatting,
烈的时候，
and the
小
mom
明
was
让
just
妈妈
looking.
帮他。
And when the argument get very
她
heated,
是我的老婆，她会
Xiaoming
帮我的。
asked mom to help him, but the dad said, that's my wife, she's going to help me.
跟妈妈是有血缘的关系，
And Xiaoming said, Mom
你
and
们
I
俩
are blood
都是男
related,
女关系。
but the two of you are just man and woman together.
今天陪老婆逛商场。
Today I accompanied my wife
卖手表的， 老婆当
going
时
to the
就
department store, and
说
then
到去看手表，
on the
挑
way
中了一个
out,
非常小
there
巧
was
秀气
uh,
的进口的
their
高级
watches,
手表，
and the wife
要1万多块美
really
金。
loved one very
当时先生
exquisite
的
and
心啊，当时正在滴
delicate
血，
watch, and it was costing over $10,000,
老婆，这个
and the
表
husband
真
was
太
almost
细，
bleeding,
你的眼睛又
and
不
then
好，
told the wife, hey, this is too
老婆打断
delicate and it's
先
hard
生
to
的话，
see, and your eyesights are not so
这
good.
有什
But
么
the
关
wife
系？
said, it's not
我
the
只是要别
problem
人的眼睛好就可以。
because I only need
戴
other
名贵的
people's
手表是要
eyes
给别人看，
are
不是
good.
给自己看。
So wearing such exquisite watch is for others to see, not for yourself.
他是要给别戴名贵的手表是给别人看的，不是给自己看的。
So wearing expensive watches is for others to see.
好吧，我们明天再讲吧。
Okay, we'll continue
能
tomorrow.
圣尊
Omani
点
Bemi
生
Hum.
活佛宝贵的。